seconds. Right, so now with the gearing out of the way, I wanted to go over adding character to these cars. I mean, I don't think any MX5 NC owner will mind me saying that. These cars are a little bit soulless. They don't have much in the way of that special feeling about them. They're just very much a tool for the job and very honest, and I love that about them. But again, there's always ways, and with this we've touched upon the gearing, and I had to get out of the way first because I think it is more important and often so overlooked. So with that out of the way, I wanted to go over what I did pretty much instantly within the first few weeks of owning the car to just try and reward me, give me something back, and failed. So I kind of went back to my roots of having a Citroen Saxo at 17 years old and bought a little ram intake, and did bugger all. It did less than bugger all, in fact. And it wasn't until I got in a friend's Sport MX5 that I realised that they have a sound tube which pipes in a little bit of intake noise into the cabin. Some people delete these, whereas I wanted one, so rung a few local scrappies and got one. Yeah, fitted it, and like I said, I failed quite miserably. It still really didn't do anything for me at all. So then I looked at a simple back box, and yeah, what is with the prices of MX5NC exhausts? A back box, a Cobra back box for 550 quid seems insane. I did still buy one, but I just found that insane money for a back box. Luckily, I got one second hand. It was in great used condition, picked it up local. I just keep my alerts on eBay for when the stuff I'm after come up, and when they do, I jump on them. So fitted that. Luckily I had the road version because the race version is apparently unbearable, and I'm not gonna lie, fitted that as well, and I thought, yeah, okay, makes a noise. It's just a drone. It's just not a very loud drone. It's very livable, but it's still not a nice noise. It's just the only way I could kind of explain what I thought the noise reminded me was, can you remember the old Gran Turismo games where all the cars made the same monotone kind of just one engine note, please? First I thought it was funny. It made me laugh because it was nostalgic. For that reason, I soon got bored of it and thought, it's still soulless, just got a little bit of bass, and that's about it. So there we go. One thing I would say is be careful what you do with a mid pipe, because I removed my mid pipe for a unsilenced one. Just don't do it. So after I had unsuccessfully added character, one of the next things I did instantly was trying to remove some of the basic power restrictions, and there's a absolutely glaring one that most of you will definitely already know about, and that is the exhaust manifold. I mean, I'll flick up a quick picture of it here. I mean, it's pretty obvious that that is awful. The primaries are tiny and they go straight into a big fat catalytic converter. Big freaking awful restriction. It's just so obvious. Look at it, especially when there's yet another catalytic converter in the midsection. So we can remove this one and quite easily trick the ECU into, you know, you just put one of the lambda sensors that was in front and behind, you just put it behind your mid-pipe one. Or with a lot of kits, you can get a standoff valve, little standoff boss kind of kit that pulls the second lambda out of the way of the exhaust flow gases and basically cheats the result. But with the exhaust manifolds, there's a few to go for, and yet again I chose the wrong one unknowingly. The IL Motorsport one is the one I would always advise to go for, best value for money and tried and tested. Blink Motorsport, that was their go-to one as well. Obviously the Racing Beat one is amazing. It's quite expensive, but I think it warrants it. It's the one that's used in all the MX5 race series, and they've never had an issue, so you'll fit that and forget. It's just great. The IL Motorsport one, I recommended it to a few people, and they sold out before I was in a position to buy one myself, with a massive lead time on the next batch, so that wasn't an option. So I went down to Tegoa Imports. They're 5 minutes from work, and they had a nice discount on Skunk 2 racing parts just before Christmas. So I went down there and I bought one of their manifolds. I should have known better, because every single Skunk 2 part I've ever bought given me shit. The throttle body I bought for the Mark II Turbo, that was terrible. That was absolutely awful. It basically kept jamming, and you had to then put more tension on the spring so it would actually operate. It was just crap, it never worked. The lower control arms, a decade ago I bought for my EK4. The bushes failed within a couple of months, and I didn't run it stupidly low or anything, they're just shit quality parts. But exhaust manifold, yeah, bought it, 20% off, great. Let's go and fit it. And one thing I will touch upon here with the exhaust manifold is I watched American vids on how to take them off. Obviously an American car doesn't have a steering rack in the way, so you will need to remove all the heat shielding with the manifold in situ. Bit of a bugger. Angle grinder made short work of it, if I'm honest, I'm not gonna lie, and I've been very lucky and treated myself to quite a nice little scissor lift, and again that made it really easy to just see what was going on. So I removed that, and I thought, yes, 10 minutes later, new manifold will be on. These cars are, but the NCs are really like a really nice origami kind of Tetris jigsaw. They're really nicely designed in terms of kind of looking at using space, but they filled everywhere. It makes it harder for us kind of amateurs in the garage to kind of work around them, and oh my god, fitting that Skunk 2 manifold was such a headache. It was an absolute ball ache. I had to, like you do with all of the other manifolds, you do have to remove the alternator and you do have to remove the battery. That's fine, we can do that. I then had to remove the steering rack. Still couldn't get it in. I then had to remove the engine mount and engine crane and push the engine over to one side just to get clearance while my wife kind of slotted the manifold in. It was a pig of a job, something that I was not ready for at all. So I just warn you, if you were going down that route, the Skunk 2 manifolds, terrible. They don't fit the cars properly at all. Even now it's on the car, it's been touching the steering rack on left-hand corners, and I'm gonna have to take a hammer to it, which is just bollocks, in a word. So with that out of the way, the next thing I moved on to had to be done. I've got to admit, when I bought an NC MX5, I never wanted an NC MX5. I wanted an IT bead MX5.